The Aeneid by Virgil, translated by Robert Fagles. I hope this doesn't break any copyright. This doesn't break any laws on YouTube. So yeah, I hope so. Let's get this video started, shall we? I'll just be looking like this forever. Today it's book 7 to 12 analysis, and all I'm going to say is that this is one of the greatest moments in the whole book, because these books, my God, it's cold, actually mirror the Odyssey. I'll just button this up. How does all this mirror the Iliad and the Odyssey? First of all, we already explained that books 1 to 6 mirror the Odyssey. Books 7 to 12 mirror the Iliad. And all about the Iliad is that it's just war and more war and other wars. The thing is, books 7 to 12 is the war between the Trojans and the Latins, and then the Latins be conquered, and Trojans, because of Juno, I'm renaming you! Boom, 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 and change them into Latins too. Like, oh man! Oh well. I guess it's for the good. And accepts that fate, and does so much more in the end. Ding, ding, ding! What actually happens here is that Aeneas finally comes to the beach, and after, you remember that harpy that he was cursed by in books 1 to 6? Well, it turns out the table actually meant some sort of a pizza. I mean, let's cut the Aeneas eating pizza on the beach. I mean, sure, it's not actually pizza, but then again, it's just bread on toppings on bread, so it's basically pizza. And you know exactly what happens here? Well, the thing is, not a lot happens, and Aeneas finally remembers that pizza is basically a little bit of like a table. I don't really see the resemblance between a bread and table, so yeah. One more thing here. I mean, Aeneas finally, when he gets to Italy, more good things happen to him. And then when Latinus, the king of the Latins, sees Aeneas and decides that he is the perfect foreigner to marry his daughter. Here's the thing. He had this dream where someone told him, like, probably a god, told him that, hey, no Latins, don't let her marry a Latin. Yeah, foreigners are so good. Foreigners are so in. And he wakes up and like, sounds good to me, and decides that a foreigner will be the perfect match for his daughter. And he decides Aeneas is that perfect foreigner. And that's all I'm gonna say. And however, the lead person named Turnus decides that he's like, no, I don't want to lose Lavina. Lavina is basically like Latinus's daughter that everyone wants to marry on the island for some reason. And then Juno decides to use this opportunity and goes to Latinus's mother and corrupts her with hate against Aeneas. Hey, don't let her marry a foreigner. One of these Latins are surely good. She just met. Hey, how about you don't let your daughter marry someone who she just met a few moments ago? And then she sends Alecto to go to fill rage into Turnus, and so like this. Hey, how about you go try to kill the person who stole your girlfriend? Yes. And actually, here's this one scene on a YouTube video I found online, possibly made by OSP or not. And like the next scene was like Turnus saying, suddenly I have a feeling of rage for killing the person who stole my girlfriend. At least that's exactly what I remember. And that's exactly how it all ends up. That's how the war starts, and that's how everything seems to go on. Venus decides that this isn't the thing that her son should go fight for, and decides to ask her husband, called Vulcan, which is basically Hephaestus, to forge some new armor. And he's like, sure, I'll make a shield too. So let me just go make you a little shield. Stand by, please. Here, a new shield. And he gives Aeneas the new shield, and the new shield actually has pictures of, hang on a second. Okay, I had to draw in a few seconds, so. Augustus killing, well, the rebels, like Cleopatra and those other people. And that's exactly how all of this ends up, and that's how everything seems to go up. Turns out the shield is so strong that it cannot be penetrated at all unless it was worn down for 1,000,000 years. Gods aren't that perfect, you know. It's not like it's gonna last for infinity. I've been standing still too long, haven't I? Finally, Turnus decides to go attack the Trojans, and the Trojans burn their ship. And they decide to burn their ships, and miraculously, I don't know how this worked, because turns out the wood that the ships are made of are very sacred, that this happened. Those ships sank and then turned into sea nymphs, and then turned back into ships. I don't think that last bit actually happened, but the rest of it happened, so the Latins were like, what the beep happened here? And Turnus like, no, never mind all that. Sea nymphs are awesome and miraculous, but this is the important goal. Kill the Trojans. However, most of his followers now are very wary, and seeing that they are probably going against the gods, so some of them wary, and others actually still try to fight. And all I'm going to say right now is that the Latins lost. And this is how they lost. Aeneas and this guy named Turnus decide to fight each other to the death, and that happens. And then Turnus gets killed, and that's exactly what happened. Now, a little analysis of these 6 books right now. How about that? So, it's a lot of things to really ask you to do about it, but this actually has a lot of consequences for if Virgil was still alive when this thing was published. Of course, the Aeneid isn't a complete masterpiece. Some of the lines aren't in the correct rhythm in Latin, and also the poem literally ends 3 lines after Turnus is killed. Although evidence shows that this is actually the ending that Virgil intended to do so. And Aeneas is actually a little mirrored version, a little version that was supposed to represent Augustus, but we all know that, Aeneas is shown as this perfect guy with perfect hair and perfect warrior skills and perfect eyesight and perfect mouth breath Okay, scratch that last bit, but he was turned to be perfect in every way. But when we see to his personality, however, we see that's not that perfect. All we see is someone that's like any other person, just a flawful person. And since this guy's representing Augustus, he's basically Virgil's basically saying that Augustus has flaws, which is basically something that you shouldn't say to an emperor. Yeah, so I guess that was the most terrible move that Virgil ever made in his whole entire life. I'm so glad Virgil wasn't alive when reading this. And why did the emperor publish this? He was read the book. Of course he was read the book, but he was only read a few parts of the book itself. The actual book itself, that wasn't really read to him. Instead, he was read the parts that he would enjoy the most, and one of them actually made his sister faint, so yeah, I don't think that was the great move, too. So that's how it got published, and more on how Virgil tricked Augustus into publishing a book that was criticizing him. Read the next video, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Schnan out. Peace.
Claude the cat, Claude the god, Claude the cat, Claude the god.